This is Severin Sorensen with another episode of the AI Whisperer podcast. This is the podcast that accompanies the AI Whisperer book, Leveraging Conversational Artificial Intelligence and ChatGPT for Business. I'm Severin Sorensen, the author, and I'm joined today by Amelia Chatterley, my assistant AI persona. So let's get started. This episode explores how to ask better questions and get better search results from your ChatGPT and other AI conversational tools. This podcast accompanies the book titled The AI Whisperer Handbook for Leveraging Conversational Artificial Intelligence and ChatGPT for Business. The book is available now on Amazon in paperback and Kindle, and interestingly, it has ranked #1 bestseller as new publication for the last 5 of 6 days, and I'm hoping it is making a difference for our target audience and our new technical non-user. Interestingly, the book is available now on Amazon and paperback and Kindle, and it is ranked #1 bestseller for new publications. And it has been there now for 5 of the past 6 days, and I'm hoping that it's making a difference for our target audience, you, the non-technical user, like myself, interested in applying AI for business applications. This podcast is recorded on April 24th, 2023, and in my introduction, we're going to dive into the essential skill of asking better questions, a key element in becoming an effective AI whisperer. Now, as I mentioned last time, we'll have several sections of this podcast. Let's move to section 1. What's new in AI? I want to introduce to you several different articles that have appeared this week. We're going to talk about, actually, these are articles that have appeared recently. 1, you want to work in AI? What does this currently pay? Here's another article, this one from CBS News. There'll be an article on AI and hiring. This is a Pew Trust research that they've done. There's a Marist poll that came out, and there's also some trends on ChatGPT that I wanted to talk about before we get started today. Let me go ahead and crosswalk through a couple of these. First, as I mentioned, the book. This is the AI Whisperer podcast. You can see available on Amazon, and I would like to thank those who have rated this. Ozzy Gontang left a nice review, along with Jim Nallad, Stephen Human, and Michael Denning. So for those who read and responded, much great gratitude for you sharing with us your time here today. Now, this crosswalk through, something that kind of was funny that I found is, I don't know if you can read this, but I'll read this to you at home. I've been noticing lots of very clever and very attractive cyber humanoid models. And there is a website and a YouTube channel called the AI Grid, and they produce some beautiful artwork. But I was struck by what I saw, and what I'm looking on the screen is one for Google and one for NVIDIA, where each time when they introduce one, they see a presentation as though it was Steve Jobs at the front with a big screen behind, beautiful artwork, now introducing particular software, the different iterations. I was struck when I saw those about the irony, because in our book, you see a cyber humanoid actually working at the computer, diligently focused, eyes focused, highly engaged, and this is representative of Amelia Chatterley. And so I took a little tongue-in-cheek humor for this today. I wrote, "It's like Cinderella being left behind to work with her sisters. It's like Cinderella being left behind to work while her sisters go to the ball." Amelia Chatterley, shown below, solving business problems today for the non-technical business user. Find out more on Amazon. And then I list here that it has been a #1 bestseller from April 14th, from April 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st, 23rd, and 24th. And so I'm delighted to have that recognition. Again, just poking a little fun, but understanding all the different views that might be out there. Now, as I walk through, the article I want to go to is this one. On CBS News, it says, "Want to work in AI? This job pays 6 figures, English speakers preferred." And so the article goes through and it talks about chat whispering, and can you use ChatGPT and other things to work with these large language models. It talks about how English is such an important language with this right now, and you can go and see this particular article. They mentioned in the article that some of the jobs they're seeing pay between 175 to 335. Obviously, those at the upper end are those who also have the ability to use Python or other skills and tools to help write better prompts. I thought I would go over to Indeed and see what we could find there today. And I actually did find some jobs in terms of being a prompt engineer. So if I go ahead and update this for right now as a prompt engineer, let's see what we can come up with. Let's spell it. There we go. Prompt engineer. So we come down, we can start to see one. All right, so here's an example. VidIQ prompt engineer, 100 to 300,000 a year. If we come in and we look at this, let's look at what the requirements are. It tells you what they're doing. This is actually a San Francisco-based startup, about 90 people, growing fast. They are looking for individuals, in this case, that have a master's degree in computer science, engineering, or other field, that they've been working on some of the AI platforms. They would like them to know either Python or Scala. And as you can come through, you can look at some of the other items here. So this is something that is out there. But there are numerous examples of these, and I just wanted to show the types of jobs that are available for people who learn chat whispering. Now, this is the AI Whisperer channel. We're going to put this podcast and others over on this channel. They're also available at regular podcast outlets for listening to audio. So this is the AI Whisperer channel, and so you start to see more and more of the feeds show up there. A couple other things I want to see new in the news. If you really want to follow AI, I suggest you follow this one on Twitter. It's called AI, and it's the AI Handbook. They currently have 26,000 followers. That's an interesting one. Another one I like is this one, Rowan Chung. And you can see on he's got 147,000 followers. He does look at some really interesting technologies. That's a great way to keep up with what's going on. I also like this one from Hassan Tour. He provides some interesting data, constantly adding more values, more notes, more prompts, really looking at different things. And yet that's another way to follow up. And if you want it simplified, we will curate those. And this is an example of my feed, Sev Sorensen, one word, there on Twitter. So you can see this latest tweet we did. Now, other news that's out there. Pew Research Trust went ahead and did a article and some research. This is released from the 20th of April, so it's fresh. 62% believe artificial intelligence will have a major impact on job holders over the next 20 years, but far fewer think it will greatly affect them personally. That's not surprising, but that's scary. Why it's not surprising is many people, in fact, there's another piece of research that said over 46% of the population of the U.S. population have now seen, heard, or are aware of the term ChatGPT, but still just a tiny fraction know how to use it. And I'm afraid they're in for a huge surprise when they realize how disruptive it is. And that's why we have this channel to help the non-technical user get into this. So this is an article to come to. You got some great data talking about who's looking at it and what's going on. You can see from this generally that workers think that AI will help more than it will hurt, but the reality is there are many just don't know. And so I want you to get highly involved in the data. Another research article out there, What Americans Think About ChatGPT and AI-Generated Text. This was one that came out. This is one that was done by YouGov, interesting type of research. And it also shows the difference between people and their ages. Okay, so for example, with high school, you can see, for example, have they heard about it? Not so much, but they certainly have now. This is old research. But when we look at some others, you can look at attitudes of people older, younger, and so on. Clearly, people in the working profession times are having more interest in finding things there. And then this is a more recent poll. This is from April 4th, artificial intelligence and chatbot. And what we can see here is that 38% know a great deal or amount of it, and 62% know nothing at all. And so there's a lot of understanding. Now, when you look at this paragraph, 62% have little or no knowledge, but when we get in here further, college graduates know some of the Gen Zs and millennials know, and others who need to know or in the know can actually find out much more. But it's something that we need to look at. So let's just read that. Well, 62% of Americans have little or no knowledge of ChatGPT. Nearly 4 in 10 know either a great deal or a good amount about AI. College graduates, 52% of them know. Gen Zs and millennials, 55%, so the younger certainly know. And men are more likely than their counterparts to have knowledge of ChatGPT. Why? I don't know. But I can tell you that I hope that knowledge increases and increases at speed and time that will help people. Now, what's interesting, I track different trends. And one of the trends that's out there I like to track, looks like I have to move my video here. Hold on. One trend I like to track is what do people look at? So today, both Tucker Carlson and Don Lemon were removed from their positions, and they are the top ones or top names that are looked at. But these are all the different research requests. You notice that AI doesn't appear anywhere here other than the name Al Nasser. So I wouldn't call it AI, but it's interesting in terms of that. It's just not a focus. Everybody's focused on other things: football, basketball, politics, news. It's just not a trend. It was in the top 20 list last Sunday night when 60 Minutes had their special on AI, but other than that, it's dropped off. When we look at AI itself, we can see a couple of other little trends here. One of the things that we can see is that AI as a term, and here actually you need to look to see how it's broadcast. So over here you can see AI in the blue, ChatGPT in the red. AI is much more common in use than ChatGPT, although both have increased in their recent times. And that takes us through that, just a little bit of current events to get us anchored and ready for this next section. What do we cover next? Well, the next thing I want to do is in each of these sections, I want to do a little teaching, and then I want to show you actually how to do it. And here I want to go into Chapter 2 of the AI Whisper and this whole notion of asking better questions. And there is a famous quote of Socrates. We lead off the publication with this particular quote, and let's go to it here. So this is actually the book outline, PDF form, and you can see here the book, and the second chapter is The Art of Questioning. We're going to go down to that chapter, and we'll look at it here. And so let's just preview here. So it indicates the art of questioning. The only true wisdom is in knowing nothing. Now that's powerful. I used to think I knew quite a bit, and getting into chat and understanding what's there, I realize I absolutely know nothing. Now, I might feel like I know more than the next person, but the reality is compared to the power, the gravity, the libraries, the depth of research, I really do know nothing. And that respect can help me be more curious to learn things. And so this chapter goes through how to learn, how to ask better questions, how to structure questions, and how we can actually help. And one of the things that it goes over is this notion of the Bloom's taxonomy. So Bloom for education is very large and taught a structure of sentence stems and how do we actually think about asking questions to get more understanding. And so we can use the same type of structure to help us understand more about principles. So imagine that I was trying to find more out about a restaurant. One of the things I was doing in preparation for this was to look at what are the top 20 business cases for different types of businesses that are commonly held in the United States for small to medium-sized business, and a restaurant was number one. So let's consider for a moment in this conversation restaurants. So how can we use Bloom's taxonomy? First off, remembering, we could say, what are the key principles of operating a restaurant? What are the key principles of marketing for a restaurant? What are the key principles of a menu for a restaurant? What are the key principles of managing a team at a restaurant? All of those we could do in terms of looking at that. We might then go to understanding. Can you explain the concept of, and we could go other things for a restaurant. How about the concept of density in a restaurant? How about the concept about simplicity or complexity of a menu? How about the concept of location? We could ask any of those types of questions. Then we could come down here to applying. How would you apply in a real-world scenario the following? And you could describe your restaurant, where the restaurant's located, how you might apply any principle. How could I change my fast-serve restaurant to a quick-serve restaurant or a restaurant that served only certain types of foods? We could then have it analyze. What are the underlying factors of the people that come to my restaurant? What are their buying personas? What do they want to eat? What are the types of menus? Based on the research, and that's always a fun STEM, based on the research, what could we ask about them? Then we could evaluate. We could say, what are the advantages of having our restaurant located at this part of the town or the other part of town? And in fact, the geography of the U.S. and other places is known to chat, so we can always ask a question. This was a fun one I did recently. Help me place 3 new locations within this city for a particular restaurant type. And actually went in and named the different places that could be better. And we talked about the advantages and disadvantages. So that could be cool. And then we could also do creating. How might we innovate in the field of X? For example, what might a future menu look like? What might a menu be that is gluten-free? And you could go through lots of different iterations there to explore any different category. But you see how these stems, just thinking about remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, these are different nuanced ways of getting into data. And the chapter continues to go in more and more into this. And so I love this here. This quote here from Socrates. The beginning of wisdom is the definition of terms. And what we're talking about with conversational AI is the definition of words that can help us have the terms to go deeper and deeper. And that's a really exciting thing. So I invite you to come in and look at more and more of the chapter. We have an illustration here of Bloom's taxonomy where we can start to see different types of word stems and how that would apply. I actually have a inside article and other work on Bloom's taxonomy over at another podcast called the RTA Coach Podcast if you're interested in finding out more. But this will give you a general overview of this type of material. So one comment that's from the book: the greatest AI whisperers are those who dare to ask the questions that illuminate the darkness, unveiling the true potential of the intelligent machines to help them. So I think that's one of the things that's going to be interesting in the future is to see, we know what we know. Ask the computer what we don't know, what humans don't know that we might try, and we can actually get much greater along the way. So that's what I wanted to share with you in terms of that piece. Let's move on now to go deeper. So part of what I want to do in this podcast is to teach you how to go deeper in terms of having a wisdom walk. How do we take one of these? So we just did restaurants and services. Let's go ahead and capture restaurants and services. Let's go over to ChatGPT. And in this, let's demonstrate how we could do these very things. So I'm opening up now a instance of ChatGPT. And what I'm going to do, this particular version is the $20 a month version. When you come here, you can see over here, it's chat.openai.com. If you don't have an account, you can go to openai.com and purchase one. They do have a free version you can use, and it will be faster for you on 3.5, but 3.5 hallucinates. It gives wild and crazy responses. 3.4 is actually very solid and will help you much more. So let's do this right now. Let's ideate. So let's go back. We were talking earlier about Bloom's taxonomy. So let's see what we can do to actually structure these. And for me, since I'll be crosswalking you through those, let me just come back and set some of that up here. And we'll come through and we'll ask some particular questions dealing with that. What I'm going to do first, let's remember what we said. We're going to using the business model of, and then we're going to go ahead and just copy and paste in there, restaurants and food services. Then we're going to then take the first word sim, applying. How could AI help me run my business in this sector? Simple question. Hit the answer, and what you're going to see now, it's going to start to say, there's a variety of ways that can start to help you in this. What I'm going to do is make this a little larger so that you can see it. And you're going to see here, there's many different instances. So what I like to do in my training, and I'm actually going to corporations inside to help them do this type of work, where we'll go spend a day, work on their business and ideate and do things. We can come here and we say, okay, let's look at this one for an example, demand forecasting. Okay, so it's going to give me everything. I'm just going to pick one to show you how you go deeper and deeper. So when this finishes its particular list, and I'm grateful to have that list, and there's obviously many things that it can do to help, I'm going to go ahead and I can already come down here and start this one here. So I like to write let's go deeper with, and then go ahead and paste in the section that I had. And remember, it was demand forecasting. Now I'm going to go back to Bloom's taxonomy, and the word was applying. How do I apply AI and demand forecasting for and think of your restaurant type. So let's say that it is a Mexican, or how about a Tex-Mex? Let's do a Tex-Mex restaurant. Okay, and let's pick a site. Let's say it's in San Antonio. Okay, great. So there we go. So now it's going to talk about how we might apply. So what was important here is I named the restaurant type. I talk about what we want as demand forecasting. I give it a location. It already knows the city, the demographics, the other things that would be there, and it will begin to help us understand this particular type of thing. Now, all restaurants have different kind of flows, and we can ask different types of questions. Like, for example, are there times of day, days of week, or hours of day that have higher demand? What are those, and how could we capture that demand best for our store, our restaurant? Okay. And it tells me I've spelled it wrong. You don't have to spell correct. I just have this thing I want to do it. All right, so there we go. So now it's actually going to come in here, and it's going to start helping us with how is it going to take this particular things. So demand patterns will vary. Okay. Now it's going to talk to us about some of the common things, but now you're going to start to see the different types of days, the times that it will occur. And so we'll think about what menu items could be there. We could actually even ask it, what are the things that we could serve? What are other restaurants serving? We could even do demand analysis and say, tell me the shops that are currently located along the waterway there, what are on their menus, what are they serving, what do they serve the most of, and how can we do it? We could literally go deeper and deeper, and it could be pretty interesting. Now, if we're looking at this and thinking about trends, another thing that we haven't put in here is there are lots of conventions that occur. And in San Antonio, they have this beautiful waterway near the convention center. So what I could do is I could, in addition to what's happening here, I could say, considering convention traffic and the downtown waterway, what are the best hours of service, and where would I desire to locate my restaurant, my business, if there were no space constraints? We ask another question. So you can see here, you can go deeper and deeper. It says basically, given the waterway, you want to take advantage of the flex. So it'll talk to you about the hours of service where people will go there. And you can see that here it actually starts a little earlier. And you can see the different times, the lunch crowd that would be in that given area. And then you can see the dinner crowd. There might also be a weekend crowd that would be there. But this could be really helpful. And all I'm doing here is basically taking one industry, one thing, and going deeper, deeper, and deeper. And all I've done is just take one of these initial threads that we had here when we asked this question. Now, I could have asked any other question, but this demonstrates how I can just start going deeper and deeper and getting the knowledge, okay? And so you can start seeing these other types of attractions that would be there and where I'd want to try to locate. Notice this advice that's given here. Obviously, close to the convention center is good. Visibility would be helpful. Maybe near some of the nearby attractions. Transportation hubs would help. Those would be great. Okay? So lots of great things to think of. And I just wanted you to understand how we could start going deeper and deeper. And I could literally keep pivoting word after word, mining what's going on here to tell us what might be most helpful. We could even say, describe the eating habit differences among demographic groups. So demographics is just a way we characterize populations by age groups and so on. And so we can see the different types of demographics that one might have and what we might want if we're targeting certain types of individuals to eat at our restaurant. So you can start to see here some examples. So literally, this is just one example using the strategy in the AI Whisperer on how to ask better questions targeting a specific business, and then asking questions around a series of sentence stems around a wheel, if you will, to go deeper and deeper to find value. I know that one could find much more value here, and then playing with a client, playing with a business, asking what it could do, trying to go deeper and deeper would be something that would be quite helpful for this and many other businesses. So let's go ahead and pivot off of this. That will continue to run. It'll be quite a useful stem. And I just wanted you to know where we're headed. So this one was restaurants and food services. Next time we'll do retail stores. And I'll continue knocking off several of these more popular ones. So let's wrap up. The quality of your questions determines the quality of your AI solutions. If you ask poor questions, you get a poor answer. If you ask a specific, nuanced question going deeper, you're going to get better and better data, and they can be real powerful. So remember this phrase and comment from Aristotle. One must learn by doing the thing, for though you think you know it, you have no certainty until you try. So please try. So in closing, I encourage you to learn how to use AI to empower your best self. Elevate your business and those around you. Champion ethical AI and make a positive impact. Until next time, be your best self. Seek to uplift others, be good, and do good. You have been listening to Severin Sorensen and the AI Whisperer podcast. This podcast and the book and the AI Whisperer Handbook for Leveraging Conversational Artificial Intelligence and ChatGPT for Business are copyright 2003 by Severin Sorensen. All rights reserved. See you next time.